Hey guys, Oscar here for Notagrouch. Notagrouch.com, go check it out. Also find me on TikTok. I don't post goofy dances or anything like that, but I do like TikTok. It's my new favorite, favorite addiction. But I do want to talk to you about business. Let's get some serious business talk here. I want to talk to you about something that's going to kill your business. If not immediately, then it's going to make it suffer a long, painful death. And we're talking about something that could take years, but eventually it will get you. So, I face this all the time, and I've written about it in different ways. I wrote a blog post about how people are duck liners, and they like to line up their ducks. Put all their ducks in a row, as they say. That's a phrase, right? Let me get all my ducks in a row before I do that. Let me get all my ducks in a row. Well, that's one of the worst advice cliches I've ever heard in my life. And I used to be a believer of it when I was younger, especially with the education system, especially how our parents are, or the traditional model of working for somebody else. Everybody says, get your ducks in a row so you don't make a mistake. That's bullshit, because you will make mistakes and you will never, ever, ever get your ducks in a row. Period. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you do. First time around where you're starting to do something, or next time you're going to start a new project, add a new product to your product line, offer a new service. If you haven't systematized something where you have a step 1 through 15 and you get it done from top to bottom, then every time you start something, you're going to find new things that you need to do that you could not have predicted, you would not have predicted even if you wanted to, and stuff that just happens to come up on its own because life happens. So the thing that will kill your business is indecision. If you're going back and forth between a decision and you're like, oh, should we do this? Should we do that? And then you do some research and then you find out, oh, well, look at this new little shiny object. We should do that. And now you have 2 options and the new one. And now you have 3 options. And then you say, well, but we said let's go do this. And then you decide, okay, well, yeah, let's do that. That's right. Forget about that stuff. Let's go back. And then you don't make a decision. And then the other person that was in the meeting or involved or your partner or something say, hey, but really we should look at that little shiny object that we saw yesterday. And then the cycle never ends. And then you make a decision half-assed. And you say, well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do a little bit of this one, a little bit of this one, and then a little bit of the one with the shiny object, because that way we'll know which one's better. And then you try to do those 3 things, and all of them are not done right because you're not committed and you haven't really pulled the trigger. This happens all the time. Most of the people that fail at business have this as a pattern in their life, in their business, especially in their business. And they can't make up their mind and they're insecure about it. And sure, everybody's insecure, everybody's unsure about the future, about tomorrow. When I jumped into business, I was unsure. I didn't know how I was going to get my next check. I didn't know that. Imagine that I would have sat there and said, well, how are we going to do this? And who's going to pay me? And who's going to pay me this amount? And who's going to pay me enough for me to pay taxes? And for me to pay this? And for me to pay my car? And for me to do this and that? And then should I sell this? Or should I sell that because it's more profitable? Or someone says that I should do this. I would have never launched. I would have never started. And I would be stuck at a job. Now, I've made mistakes, of course. But the best way that you learn the most valuable lessons in life come from mistakes, because you try something, you fail at it, or you do it, not as perfect as you wish, but next time around is better, and next time around is better, while the other person is still sitting there lining their ducks. So you got to move on things. You got to move on things because you already know what you know. If you say, you know what, I found this widget, I found this thing here, and people are going to love it, and I already showed it to a couple of friends and they like it, they say they would buy it. Let's do it. Let's start selling it. And you start going on that route, but then you get distracted with this little thing, and all of a sudden you have another one, and you say, well, you know, this one only is going to make us $10 per item. This other one can make us 20. And then you start on that cycle. So here's the caveat with doing things the way I'm telling you to do. You have to decide and you have to move forward. You do have to plan. You do have to plan in advance, and you do have to have a roadmap. However, that roadmap doesn't have to be every single step, every minute of your day, every hour of the day. It doesn't need that. What you need is set a target. Set a goal that is, it doesn't even have to be realistic, because a lot of people will hold back from doing great things because they want to be realistic. Okay? Make a goal that you know it can be attained against all odds. Yes, maybe it sounds heroic, maybe it sounds over the top, but think of your goal as something that is, that you doubt that goal, not something's impossible. You know, I hate when people say nothing's impossible. It's like, yeah, it is. We can't fly. You can't fly without a device right now. You can't. So that's impossible, right? But you could sit there. You could sit there and be broke. Be broke. Have $100 in your account, and you're struggling for the next paycheck. That could be you, and you can make your goal for your business to say, in 2 years, I'm going to make $1 million. That is a lofty goal. That is a super challenging goal, but it's doable. So make a goal that is big enough to challenge you. And then lay out some of the steps that you need to do to get to that goal. Let's take example of that $1 million goal. Okay, so what does that mean? You need to make a goal of $1 million revenue. Let's just say revenue instead of profit, because profit could mean that you need to make like 5 million or 10 million in order to make one. Depends on what products. We're not going to get into that right now. But let's say that you want to make $1 million in revenue. Well, what's the next thing? You need to have a product. You need to have a product that is sellable. You need to have a product that has a decent profit margin. So that's going to be part of your goal. And you're going to say, okay, by next week, I need to have a product that is profitable, that is easy to source, and that I can get with minimal investment to start. Okay, that's it. You don't need to know any more than that. Then you need to say, as soon as I have my product, I need to build a website. 3 days max. WordPress, Shopify, whatever. You can get that done in 3 days. It's going to cost you $30 a month. Put that in the books as your budget. And that's your goal. And then after that, you have the other goals of, okay, let's get this in front of 1,000 people every day. Well, that's a goal that's going to be challenging, but you can start with that. You can start with your social media connections, you can start with your social media friends, send emails, and you can easily jump up to that number in maybe a month or two. And then you start looking at your numbers. And then you say, okay, well, how do we reach $1 million? And in 2 months, you could have a really, really nice set of numbers that tell you what is your profit, what are your margins, how do you need to promote the product so that you can reach that $1 million. I know I make it sound simplistic, but that is what's going to make you move and push forward. If you sit there wondering all the economics, all the little details, well, how am I going to find the product? Are they going to ship it to me? Should I have it shipped to a P.O. box? What if I order from Europe? What if I order from Asia? How do I deal with the customs? How do I deal with getting the box so nobody steals it when they leave it on my porch? Those are all inconsequential. It doesn't matter. Everyone else around you has done that, and they figure it out. So it's not rocket science for you to figure out when it comes to that. But when you pull the trigger and you make a decision on doing this or that, all these other little things simply become things you have to do to achieve your goal. And they don't, if you start planning and you try to get everything in order before you do anything, all those little things can become insurmountable challenges that you will never get past, because that insecurity will eat you up, and you want to make sure before you do anything that everything is right. And nothing's ever going to be right. This is for everything in life. When you want to get married, you're not going to be ready ever. You just do it. You plan for it, you set your goals, you set your budget, and then you do it. When you're going to have kids, same thing. No one's ever going to be ready. Anyone tells you that, oh, we're saving, getting ready for this and that, they're kidding themselves. For business, it's the same thing. You set your goals, you set your targets, you set a basic action plan, and then you execute. Execution trumps all planning, 100% all the time. Now, later down the road, once your business is in order and you're making money and you're have traffic or whatever it is that you need to get money, that's when you can have certain things that are everything's in a row. For example, adding a new product to your lineup. Now you have a very, very clear understanding of how your market works, and you can say, okay, step 1, source the product. Step 2, talk to the vendor. Step 3, negotiate best deal in volume. Step 4, clear customs, find a deal for customs, whatever. Now you can get very detailed into what needs to be done so that you can do it faster without friction. But that doesn't come first. It brings up that thing I've talked about before, where it's another one of those advice that people tell you to say, ready, aim, fire. The idea is, get your gun ready, take aim, and then fire. That's the wrong way to go about it, because you're going to, most of the time, your first shot is going to miss the mark. What you have to do is get your gun ready, shoot in the general direction of the target, trying to hit the target, and then aim again, and then fire again. The first time you're shooting, that will be more effective than anything else. If you've never shot before, that's how it works. That's how you should do everything in your business for the first, second, and third time, until you can get a system and a process going that will give you a very specific outline of what to do. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.